Hello and welcome to my beginner's guide on setting up Tauri with Nuxt on Windows 11. If you're unfamiliar with what Tauri is an open source framework designed for developing cross-platform applications utilizing web technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What sets Tauri apart from similar frameworks like Electron is its reliance on the system's web view for rendering the UI. This approach reduces the final build size of your application, making Tauri an excellent choice for creating lightweight desktop applications. Additionally, Tauri emphasizes security and performance, offering a sandboxed environment for your applications and allowing for more efficient use of system resources. Nuxt is a framework for building v1.5 applications. It simplifies the process of routing, imports, and state management so that you can focus on building your app rather than navigating the complexities of importing components. With that out of the way, let's get started. We'll start by installing Node.js, which is useful for installing packages easily from a PowerShell. So we'll open up a web browser, and we'll go to nodejs.org. I recommend downloading the LTS version. Run that. Click on Next. Accept the license agreement. The installation path is fine. Next. All of this is fine. Next. And I recommend installing the necessary tools like Chocolatey, so be sure to checkmark this box. It'll make the process a lot easier. So hit Next, and then finally install. And then finish. So this is just saying that we need to install Python and the Visual Studio build tools. Go ahead and press any key. And then it's also saying it's going to install Chocolatey, so press any key. Alright, now that everything's been installed, go ahead and hit enter to exit. Next, since Tauri relies on Rust as its backend programming language, we'll have to install that. So head over to rust-lang.org, click Get Started, scroll down, and on the right-hand side, click Download Rust Up Init exe 64-bit, and then just run that. Type 1 and then proceed with installation. Alright, go ahead and press enter to continue. And then finally, we'll be doing most of our Nuxt and Tauri setup from Visual Studio Code, which is a great open source code editor from Microsoft. So we'll go ahead and go to the code.visualstudio.com. And in my case, I'll need the system installer since I'm running inside of a sandbox. So click on Other Platforms, and I'll click on System Installer x64. In your case, you can just click x64 next to User Installer. So go ahead and install that, accept the agreement, next. Default installation path is fine. Start menu folder is fine. And I usually like checking Add Open with Code action to Windows Explorer file context menu, and the one below it as well. This just makes it really easy to open up Visual Studio Code from a file manager. And then click Next. And then install. Alright, Visual Studio is installed, and I like switching to the light modern, so we'll do that. Next up, we need to create a folder for our project. So we'll open up a file manager, and we'll go to our Documents folder. And if you don't see a GitHub folder in here, create one. So go to New Folder, call it GitHub. Go into that folder and create a new folder. And I'll call this Nuxt Tauri Project. You can call this whatever you want. So now we need to go back to VS Code. We need to open up the folder of our project first. So let's go to Open Folder. Go to the Documents, GitHub, the name of your project, select folder. And you want to trust the authors. And reopen the terminal because that's important. So now we need to install pnpm, which is just a way for installing various packages that we'll need. So type npm install -g and pnpm, this might throw an error. So if you get this error where it says the term npm is not recognized, that usually means one of two things. It means that your Node.js wasn't installed properly, or we just need to restart VS Code. So it's usually the latter since we already installed Node.js. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll open up Visual Studio Code again and press up, and you should have that command again. So press enter, and this time it should actually install it. Now for this next part, we need to allow the execution of remote scripts, because in order to download Nuxt, we have to use a command that requires the execution of remote scripts. So to do that, just type set execution policy remote signed. Next up, we need to actually run the command that will download Nuxt. So pnpm dlx nuxi at latest init, and then here's where you can choose the name of your project. In my case, I'm just going to call it Nuxt Tauri project. And make sure that you use lowercase letters with hyphens, basically kebab case. So try to avoid capital letters here and spaces. I prefer using pnpm, so go down to that and press enter. And you can choose to participate in their collection of anonymous data. So I'll just choose yes. And it's asking if you want to initialize your Git repository. I'm going to choose no for now. Then the next step is to cd into the folder that we created. So type cd space nuxt, and then press tab to finish the line, and then press enter. Next up, we need to install Tauri. So we can see we've already got Nuxt installed. In order to install Tauri, we need to type this command. So pnpm add -D @Tauri -apps /CLI @latest. And then we need to actually initialize Tauri. So type pnpm Tauri init. This is just asking what our app name should be, and I'm just going to type Nuxt Tauri project. And then the window title, you can use capital letters and spaces there if you want. This is asking where the dist folder will be. /dist is fine, so press enter. The URL of the local server, that's fine. And it's asking what our preferred dev command is, so I'll just put a P before that, press enter. And then what's our preferred build command, P, and then we'll press enter there. All right, so we have to modify some files in order for this to work. So we now have a source Tauri directory, and we need to go to our Tauri conf JSON file. So for our dev command, I'm just going to get rid of the word run. And then for our build command, this has to be generate. Then we also have to change a unique identifier. And you can change this to whatever you like. I'm just going to call mine changed. Then we need to modify our Nuxt config file. This is going to be pretty barren by default. There's a lot of stuff we have to put in here. So I believe we have to go to beta.tauri.app and then just do a search for Nuxt. And in this page, we just scroll down to step 2 where it says update Nuxt configuration. I'm just going to click this button in the top right corner to copy it. I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to just select all and paste in here. Now, we have to remove this Tauri underscore because that's actually a security risk. So we'll just get rid of that, including the comma. It turns out that removing the Tauri prefix isn't such a simple security fix after all. Removing it can limit your ability to switch between Tauri and web-compatible modes if you plan to offer your project as a browser-based web app. It turns out that the potential risks associated with keeping the Tauri prefix are very minimal, so I actually recommend keeping the Tauri prefix so that you don't create any limits for yourself. If you're still unsure and you want to read more about this, I've included a link in the video that you can follow to find out more about this. And then we also have this underline on host, and I'm not 100% sure why that happens, but I'll just go ahead and comment it out just for now, and then we'll save this file. Next up, we need to test our application just to see if it works. So to do that, type pnpm Tauri dev and press enter. If you get a firewall pop-up, just hit allow access. We've got an error that says the system cannot find the file specified. Create WebView, WebView2 error. If you receive this error, then you'll have to download WebView. So to do that, go back to your web browser, and then I'd recommend just doing a search for Microsoft Edge WebView 2. And usually the first result is the one you want from Microsoft. Click on download, and then the one I got was Evergreen Bootstrapper. So just click download, accept and download, and then run this. This is going to install WebView, which is required for developing a Tauri app. Alright, now that that's installed, just go back to Visual Studio Code, press up, and then rerun pnpm Tauri dev. Alright, so we now have a development version of Tauri with Nuxt. And we can just close that. And finally, I recommend trying to create a build version of your application. So to do that, just type pnpm Tauri build. Alright, so we now have an installation file. If you right-click that, actually, you want to hold Control and then click it, and then it'll take you right to where it's at in your directory structure. So right-click that and go to Reveal in File Explorer. So now we have this MSI file, which you can double-click, Next, and you can see it has the name of the project that we chose, Next, and then Install, and then Launch. And there we have it. That's our build version of Nuxt running inside of Tauri. And there's one last step. If you want to set your execution policy back to restricted so that you can be more secure, the way you do that is by typing set execution policy restricted. All right, and you have everything you need to get started with Tauri.